HFY Herbert's 100 harem. You can shut right up, Herbert states. I said nothing, sir. I am still your commanding officer, Herbert continues. I understand fully, sir. The man is only this formal when he's trying not to laugh. Let's see you keep your dignity when you're a 12-year-old being cooed over. No doubt, sir. You've spent too much time with Sir Philip, and yet not a fraction of the time you have, sir. Sure, right. Just remember this person hasn't seen me before, so you know the routine. Right out of a comedy skit, sir. Yes it is, Herbert says as he adjusts his formal outfit and fluffs out the bow tie. And knock it off with the Jeeves routine. You're supposed to be overwhelmed and flustered, not calm and in control. We're not with the target yet, sir. Well, we will be in just a few seconds. She's being held captive by militant men. Ordinarily, this would quickly progress into finding out that when not in the armor, they're strict nudists or something. But this time, it's not a dream or imagining. Still, they will have nothing on her. Sure, she's heard rumors of her organization, but everything is plausible deniability. Things she's heard of, but can never confirm. Rumor. And rumors don't stand up in any court of law. They had questioned her a few times already, and she had given them nothing, acting confused, hurt, and upset at what was going on. If she gave them a centimeter, they'd take a kilometer, so they wouldn't get so much as a millimeter out of her. She remembers her training. She just has to ride this out, keep her story straight, and leave. They won't vanish her. If these are the undaunted as she believes them to be, then they won't have the guts too. The door to the interrogation chamber flies open, and a tiny child in a rumpled but formal suit rushes in, shortly pursued by a very panicky grown man. "Come on, kid, don't do this to me! You're going to get me fired!" the man exclaims, trying to chase after the child, who darts under table and starts using her as a body block. "Come on, goober! Catch me if you can!" The kid sighs, rushing around her a few times to keep her between them. "What is even—" She begins to shout before the man dives over her, grabs the kid, and they both crash into the wall. There is a moment that she's just left staring at them. "Who are you?" "Right, sorry. I'm Lieutenant Threepwood, and this used to be Commander Guybrush. Then healing coma went wrong, and now we have an uncontrollable brat. Excuse me," Threepwood says as he starts to carry out Guybrush, and then the kid plants his hands and feet on either side of the door. "Oh, come on, kid, you're killing me here." "No," the brat shouts, and a thrashing fight kicks off, and Threepwood takes a knee to the side of his head, and Guybrush rushes behind her. Threepwood visibly struggles with his temper, reaches for a gun, and then slowly, deliberately, pulls his hand away from his revealed weapon. "So what you doing here, lady?" Guybrush asks. "What? Dumbhead over there stops being fun when he's like that, but maybe you're fun. What you doing here?" Guybrush asks before turning to Threepwood. "Isn't that right, dumbhead? Aren't you boring?" And Threepwood pointedly looks away, clearly infuriated by the child, but dismissing her as a threat. Then Guybrush climbs up the back of her chair and starts whispering in her ear. "So what's going on?" This has to be a trick. Still, she can play along. "I don't know. I was in my apartment and the door was kicked in and I was dragged out." She lies and the boy gasps loudly. "Really?" he says too loudly as he's right at her ear, and half shouted that, "Guy, get away from her!" Threepwood rushes over, and before Guybrush can react, Threepwood grabs him by the jacket and starts pulling. Guybrush grabs onto her, and then she and the chair she's tied to is tipped over, and as Guybrush thrashes Threepwood, lets go to avoid a kick to the face, and both her and Guybrush fall to the ground, and there's a moment, then a sniff. Then the small child starts crying, and he hides behind her from the Threepwood. "I'm not the bad guy here," Threepwood protests as Guybrush sniffles behind her. "What is even happening?" she demands. She gets a pitiable whine out of the child and a strangling sound of purest frustration from the man. The man is outright reigning in a clearly murderous temper as the child shivers behind her. "Look, lady, just who even are you and why are you here?" "Oh, sweet goddess, this man isn't even part of interrogation. He's just in charge of wrangling hell on two legs. I was with my friends when..." Shit, she's already screwed up. She told the kid something else, but when? The man asks as he touches his nose delicately and flinches. Kid's got a kick, apparently. I'm sorry, who are you people again? She asks before he walks over and helps her up. I am Lieutenant Threepwood. This is formerly the Commander Guybrush, Threepwood says, and she notices the pause in his words now. She had heard it as all one word. Then the little child makes a wet, rude noise while sticking his tongue out. Clearly, whoever Commander Brush was is completely lost to a healing coma. Look, lady, why are you even here? Threepwood asks as he looks around. I could get in serious trouble here. What's going on? I don't know. I think this is a terrible case of mistaken identity, she says, and Threepwood sighs. Really, I need to call this in. Excuse me a moment, he says, stepping away and pulling out a communicator, not noticing as Guy grabs something off his belt and holds a finger up to his lips. Then he notices and turns before he can call. Boy! He starts chasing the child and she feels something pressed into her hand and she scrambles a bit to hold onto it. It feels like a key, a bit of fiddling, and it fits her left cuff. Her arm is free, and with one arm free, the other is as well. She doesn't move. Then she builds Axiom, grabs the boy, and blitzes out of the room. She tries to teleport, but something is blocking it. She can feel interference. Left, Guy says, and she dashes that way. Woo! Adventure! Go right! She all but tackles the door down with Axiom-enhanced strength, and she staggers out of the ship after a slight drop. She then cackles and teleports cleanly. Right into the holodeck. She didn't even notice the portal. He mutters to himself before touching his nose. He was way too into that. Whoa, what happened? Hey, what the? Guy asks, and she looks to find that somehow the child is now cuffed to her. The key is nowhere in sight, and she's nowhere near where she wants to be. Hey, where's the key? She frantically frisks herself, then scans the nearby area. They're in a lower end of a spire. In the distance, she can hear the sounds of lasers crackling through the air and sizzling their targets. Where are we? This place is wrong, Guy says slowly as he looks around. His eyes are wide. He's terrified. The grungy air and unnatural pall of the lights doesn't help. And then a nearby building explodes with terrifying power. There are screams, roars of fury, and more explosions as further people retaliate with bombs of their own. She runs, trips as she's tied to the child who's frozen in fear. She grabs him, tucks him under an arm, and runs. No direction, just desperate racing as the Axiom quickly grows into a mess too complicated to make a safe teleport, especially with this scrambling binding and a kid tied to her. She makes for the center of the spire and the public access lifts. They'll take her up a few levels at least, and explosions erupt from the entrances of the lifts and massive fires begin raging. The whole level is dying! Guy panics and starts running, leading her along as she has no idea where to go and just why not. He leads her through a doorway and she sits up in her bed with a scream and looks around. She looks to the left and sees a man in bed with her. She's naked. He's naked, and there's a smell of booze and sex in the room. She can feel herself yearn for him, but can't really remember. Marita, it's too early. He moans, and she tries to calm her pounding heart. She's in a hotel room, a cheap hotel room. She also has a headache. Was it all just a dream? The cuffs, the chair, the kid, the kidnapping? Her clothes are vaguely half on half off a nearby chair, and several handcuffs are hanging off the headboard. Her mind is a blur, and it's hard to think. So she looks around and sees a half-open door to a bathroom. One she staggers through in short order. There are little bite marks around her neck and shoulders, and her hair is a disaster area. Bloodshot eyes, stinking breath, sore pelvis. Yeah, I got laid and was so drunk I can't remember. She mutters, trying to put everything straight. She hears a communicator go off, but as she turns, it's too fast and she staggers. At the third ring, it's answered by the man in the bed. Hello? Vinny, I'm the man that fucked Marita into a borderline coma. He mutters and she grins. Right? I have no idea what that means. Fine, I'll tell her. Stop shrieking. Yes, you are shrieking. I'm still very hungover. She opens the door right as the call ends and he drops the communicator. Get back in bed. It's too early for either of us. Hang on, I just need to, she says before walking around the room. It's spinning a little and she reaches the window before pulling apart the curtains enough to peek through. Street lights in night mode. A sleepy Spire city. Was it just a fucked up dream after some drunken sex? Must have been. Right, Miss Something wants you to be at that place for the thing at the time. Miss Quinn back at Milady Gardens Diner and Cafe this afternoon? She asks about the usual meeting place. That's the one. He answers blearily, and she nods before staggering back to bed and falling asleep in the arms of a man. That was way too complicated, his assistant complains and Herbert sighs. Well, unfortunately, we couldn't get an intent reading off that initial axiom teleport she tried of the second, so we had to improvise and hope for something to come out in a panic. When she kept her head, we had to improvise again, and then we finally got something. The woman is altogether too together for the normal bamboozling. Standard interrogations got us nowhere, so we had to take her completely off her game and make her ignore her own memories and prejudices. All that for a single name, time, and location. That's right, Mr. Heron. A single time, location, and a name to go with it. The name is the juicy bit, though. I'm aware of the value of information, but this was a lot of effort for 3 small pieces. Mr. Heron replies, only if this isn't the first nibble of a big fish. We already have people looking into the location, time, and name, Herbert says. When Marita is out cold, relocate her and Agent Voltaire to the hotel we're emulating. If she survives the upcoming raids, we can gently squeeze even more information. Still seems like a lot of trouble for so little. It may be possible to insert some wires into her skull and scan the information off her, but we're not fucking savages, even if we're savaged ourselves, Mr. Heron glibly remarks as he glances to Herbert's shorter-than-usual size. Yes, even if we're savaged ourselves. Herbert says, we're black ops, we're spies and intelligence, but we're also better. We're skilled enough that we do not need to resort to dirty and cruel techniques others skip to. After all, it's harder to sew someone back together than to pick them apart. So we exhaust the options before we go in hard. With all due respect, I don't think you're capable of that, Mr. Heron says. You wouldn't think that Sir Philip could do even a fraction of what he's done. But he's done it. Still, I am still your superior officer. I still have multiple confirmed kills in the last 48 hours alone, and I have still effectively interrogated a captured subject after being grievously wounded on the field. I will give you full credit for your aid in the interrogation, but I ask you try and match what I did in the last 2 days with your last 2 months. Sir, I think we're misunderstanding each other? Oh? I'm not questioning your means. I'm playing devil's advocate. My apologies, Mr. Heron. Apparently, I'm feeling a little defensive at the moment, and you are correct to do so. The moment we forget all our options is the moment we lose all our options, even if they are distasteful or ineffective. It's why you've been getting some sarcasm and not actual complaints. Very good now. Herbert is cut off when his communicator starts beeping at him. I'm out of time and my shift is over. Come on, I'll start the handover protocols. Not going to take overtime to avoid your wives? Mr. Heron asks as he starts following Herbert to the main office. The handover protocols were to make sure there was always 2 people that could be absolutely trusted in control of this division at all times. When Herbert clocks out, Mr. Heron will be the ranking officer, and in minutes at most his own assistant will arrive, who he will then pass control to when he himself clocks out. Avoiding my wives means avoiding my children. So no, I will not, Herbert says with a smirk.